What good is your happy life? All you wanted from the start was to cry.
I'm poker facing it.
It looks like another fall. Your good friends, they don't seem to help at all now.
You're live right now.
You're feeling kind of cold and small. Just call on your rainy day man. It does you no good to pretend shy.
Well, there we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to that album. And this week we are doing the quite a rare album, actually. James Taylor, live in London, 1970.
Tough to find it. Tough to find out anything about it.
Yeah, it is. It is quite tough. It's not one of his most well-known albums, but But how was it for you, Eric?
Well, in case anyone's listening for the first time, do you want to set this up so
that you can set it up.
Okay, so for those who've listened before, is anyone? We're definitely live. Yeah, we are. For those who've listened before and for those who are new, just a little reminder. Adam and I used to sit and text each other on Slack, our Slack channel, and what about this album? What about this track? What do you think of that? No, that's crap. No, that's brilliant. And some we would agree, some we would disagree, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun to do this live? So we do it, and we've done it now, 28 shows? 29 shows?
This is the 29th show.
Crikey. We've only missed a few weeks. I've only missed a couple. But 29 weeks of fantastic trips through musical history and musical now.
And musical discovery in some instances.
Discovery. So each week, this time it's Adam's. Each week someone suggests an album for us to review, and we go away and we review it in complete silence. Adam and I work together, but we never talk about it until we're live. So last couple of weeks ago, because I went away on holiday, it was Adam's turn to suggest, and he suggested James Taylor, live in London, 1970, right? Brilliant. Prior to that, I think we had done New Gold Dream by Simple Minds. That was my suggestion.
Yeah.
Some we agree on, some we just go, yeah, this is okay. Some, one of us loves it, the other one isn't too enamored with it. Some we both absolutely adore, and sometimes we come across one where one person adores it and the other person can't bear it. I'll just remind you of those. That's the OK Computer one, where Adam, I put this up as like, I'm putting my spleen out for you here. This is me and music, Adam, and he's like, what a lot of crap. And unfortunately, I felt pretty much the same with War of the Worlds.
You did, didn't you? It was like poking pins in your eyes.
If only it was that pleasant. Right, so what is your question to me this week?
My question to you is, how did you get on with James Taylor? So let me give that a bit of back. So I wanted to because this is the purest example of him as a musician and an artist. So it's him and his guitar in live performance early on in his career. So, and I love this because it's guitar and voice and songwriter. And I thought this was similar in many ways to Joni Mitchell, that we both love. So you said that I've obviously heard the name, but I don't know anything really about James Taylor.
Correct. And
now you do. So,
yes, I do.
How was this last week? This could be a really short show.
This could be a very short show. I think you'd have to be a Philistine and someone who doesn't like music and doesn't appreciate talent not to listen to this and think it's pretty bloody good. Pretty bloody good. Not without a little rankle for me here and there.
Oh right.
Not without a little rankle. I do have some. They're not complaints. If you listen to this and don't come away thinking, well, there's the guy who knows his way around a fretboard.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, so James, you're pretty good on the old guitar and probably other instruments too. Right? Possibly. So you're a bit of a virtuoso on the guitar. In fact, when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, how the bloody hell is one guy doing that?
Yeah.
That's quite incredible, right? Not only that, you write really warm songs, beautifully written. Sometimes they're beautifully written and the words are great. Some are a bit basic, but I think he's doing that deliberately. He's clearly extremely intelligent. He's clearly had an interesting life. He likes the old self-deprecating bit, which I admire in anyone that can self-deprecate. He likes a bit of self-deprecation. I think he plays on that on this quite a lot. There's a beautiful online thing when I was searching the annals of the internet to try and find something. There's this beautiful thing written by a journalist. James Taylor sings James Taylor, a BBC broadcast from November 1970. Though the nearly 40-minute solo performance showcases a player who's developed and mastered his distinctive musical persona, it also showcases one who has only reached a mere 22 years of age.
Yeah.
But he's so bloody calm and collected, right? But it says, but do not let this homespun, youthfulness fool you. By this point, Taylor has already endured a lifetime's worth of formative troubles. He'd fallen into deep depression while still in high school. He'd spent 9 months in a psychiatric unit. He'd taken up and quit heroin. Bottomed out in 6 months in recovery. Underwent vocal cord surgery. Taken up methadone. Gone into methadone treatment. Had an album flop. Broken his hands and feet in a motorcycle wreck. Fire and rain indeed, but also found favour with the Beatles, becoming the first American signed on their Apple label, recruiting Paul McCartney and George Harrison to play on his Carolina in My Mind at the end of the 60s. The world at large didn't know the name James Taylor at that time, but fellow musicians sure would. So, 22 years old, he comes across in this album as, hey, I'm just this little guy with a guitar and everything's, thanks for having me.
But did you get a chance to watch the Vimeo video?
I haven't. I've had a horrendous couple of weeks
yeah, I know you've been
wise,
really
but I do
busy.
plan to go back because here's my thing. I think the album as itself is a demonstration of his personality, which I love the little chats. I love the little chats.
Yeah.
I love the little giggles. I love the way on the Steamroller Blues. Take it away, James. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's great. However, for me, there are 3 songs that I'll go back to, and the rest I probably won't because I've heard them. Because listening to this album, as you say, in its purest form, this is like Michelin star musicianship. This is, they say that one of the Michelin star things is minimal ingredients, high quality. So, but I would say when I got to track 4 or 5 or whatever, I was like, God, I could do with a little bit of drums or even a bass or something. Because it was, but there are 3 songs that I really like, and I will put on playlists to play again. Wow. 3 songs that stand out.
Praise indeed. So let me guess that would be...
So can I just caveat that even more? There are 3 songs on there that I think are really good and I will play again. There is one song which actually made me make a TikTok, which I've since deleted because I want to redo it again, about how much I love this song.
Okay, so I would suggest that song is You Can Close Your Eyes.
No.
Okay.
So there's a song on here which is etched a little bit into me that, when I went out for a walk in the forest and I played this album and I stopped and made a TikTok about this song because I was standing and I thought, I'm listening to this song and it's pretty much perfect. It's Fire and Rain.
Yeah, so you know the story behind Fire and Rain?
Don't know anything about it.
Okay, so...
I do. There are 3 verses. One's about suicide, one's about heroin, and one's about a mental hospital in a band they started called The Flying Machine.
Absolutely, yeah. So
yes, I do.
Yeah, so when he was in the sanitarium, he met this girl, Suzanne, and she became his girlfriend. And then he came over to the UK to make his first album. And he was halfway through the album when his manager found out that she had committed suicide.
Oh, crikey.
And they agonized about whether or not they would tell him, and they didn't until he'd finished the album. And then they said, right, sit down, we've got some bad news for you. She's taken her life. And that's why he then wrote Fire and Rain. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Mm-hmm. So very poignant, very powerful songs. And you're right, he had an awful life to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, incredibly loving family, incredibly supportive family.
Yeah. But he fell in with the wrong crowd, eh?
Well, I don't think he did. I don't think he did because his father was an alcoholic. So I think that the gene was one of addiction. So his father was alcoholic. He became a drug addict. His brother died of a drug overdose. So that there's a whole. It's not like an isolated person that has got an addictive tendency. It's obviously something that runs in the family.
So Fire and Rain, I actually think is Fire and Rain harmonizes with me. And when I listen to, it's funny as we go through this. It's funny because this was 1970, the year before I was born, right? But it's interesting for me. In fact, it's not the year before I was born. This is like 3 months before I was born. I was January the 1st. This is November 70, right?
Yeah.
It's funny when the amount of people that have left calling cards here. It was funny. It was as if I'd walked into a room and found a sign-in book to say that Jeff Buckley was here. Mumford and Sons have been here.
Yeah.
You listen to all these. Anyone who's got a slight folk angle to them. There's chords on Fire and Rain that I hear on Grace with Jeff Buckley, and I'm like, oh, you've been through here. You've listened to this. So Fire and Rain I think is a standout. I love Carolina.
Yep.
And You Can Close Your Eyes.
Yeah, I would add to those because I love those as well. I would add to those Riding on a Railroad and Steamroller Blues, which I think are
Riding on a Railroad. By the time I got to there, I was a little
punch drunk,
a little bit kind of like. So I was kind of like, it's like I've been eating the same bag of crisps for 10 years. I need something different. And then You Can Close Your Eyes came on, and I was like, yeah, that kind of closes it well. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So yeah, I really liked it. And the one that you're about to play to start the show, I'm just gonna put it out there, better than the original for me.
Okay, well that's high praise indeed. I mean, I think what's really interesting is if you read, and obviously you read some of his kind of biography. When he was a child, he learned the cello. Mm-hmm. So all of his musical structure is predicated on the bass line. So that would be potentially why it resonates with you a bit. But if you listen to how he plays, it's really interesting that the melody is on the bottom strings and the top strings are just filling for the melody or counterpoint to the melody that he's singing.
Obviously I don't understand it because I'm not a strings guy, but I did realise I know enough about guitar playing to realise that there was a formula here to the way that he plays that I don't think I'd ever heard before.
And nobody else does it quite the way he does it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's and some of them, and some of the songs that he's playing, he's using. You can. I'm almost at the point where I'm thinking that I could maybe pick out a James Taylor guitar line.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can hear it because it's his. It's like his voice, right?
You love Blue by Joni Mitchell, not your favourite Joni Mitchell album, but in what's the first song?
On Blue.
Yeah. All I Want.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
In All I Want, you can hear he's doing the guitar backing.
Right. Okay.
And in fact, on YouTube, you can find a video of him saying, "For those of you that are interested, here's what I did back on the play." And Joni
must have been
Mitchell,
really hard because whenever she comes in with a guitar, she just makes up her tuning before she comes on, right?
Absolutely. And well, he was going out with Joni Mitchell at the time, and she was the one that gave him his big break that got him to London. And in fact, in All I Want, where she sings that fantastic line, "I want to write you a love letter, I want to knit you a sweater." In the video of this album, he is wearing the sweater that she knitted for him, and she used that lyric in the song.
Pretty damn good.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Indeed. I don't even want to get into the whole Taylor or Mitchell who's the best argument, because that could cause. Yeah, let's just review the album, shall we?
Yeah. So here we go. Let's start with a little help from my friends.
Three guitar players?
Now what would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. Lord, I'll try not to sing out key.
So I think that actually,
Oh,
but for everybody, let's just play that again from the beginning and just listen to him playing the bass line that he sings along with, because it's magical, and nobody else does this in my experience.
Now what would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. Lord, I'll try not to sing out key. I get by with a little help from friends.
pause it there. So he takes that. At what age was that song when he did that?
That would have been, I don't know, not long, because the Beatles were only active for like 8 years, 9 years, weren't they?
Yeah. Does anyone know when I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends came out? So it was. Let me see. I can't find it, but I'm just wondering when. So it was that Sergeant Pepper's? So was that 67?
Yeah, maybe. So this would only have been like 2 years old when he did the arrangement.
So he knows his way in around the song so much that he's decided to redesign it a little bit.
Mm.
So he adds in things in here which I think are really clever, which actually make it sound like his song. He's actually playing it. It sounds to me, to the untrained slightly trained musical ear, almost like he's in a minor key.
Yeah.
Almost like he's in a minor key. And what he does with the chorus and some of the bits, it's almost like he said, it's pretty good, but I could make it better.
Yeah, but I think that his style of doing things is rather like the Beatles, in as much as it's very natural. You know, obviously they understand the mechanics of it and chord progression and that, but actually they just go, okay, well, we know that, so let's put that aside. Now let's have a bit of fun. And you get the impression that this is a busk for him, really. You know, he's just gone, well, I'll just do it a little bit of my style. And I think later on in the album, you see that particularly. So track 2, Fire and Rain.
Hold on, before you go.
Okay, sorry.
There was a journalist that wrote at the time that it was a very clever move for him to do that at that London show, because he'd just signed to Apple, to theirs. He was like tugging the forelock to the fact that he'd signed to their record label, and also a load of the fans that had come because of the Beatles.
Right. Okay. Well, you know that in Fire and Rain, when he grew up in North Carolina, which is quite a religious environment. I don't think he's particularly religious, but he does use some religious text. He says like, "Oh Lord, I want to," you know, because that would have been part of the narrative when he was growing up. But one of the things that he says, no, we'll come to it later. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In you saying about the Beatles, that's right. In Fire and Rain, when he says, "A holy host of others standing around me, still I'm on the dark side of the moon." So, a holy host of others standing around me was when the Beatles were listening to the tape of one of the songs that he had just recorded in the studio, because he was also recording in Abbey Road, and he was using the studio when they were going off on a break. And then they came in, and which is why in Carolina in My Mind is why some of the Beatles are playing on it, because they were there at the studio with him when he was recording it. Not in this version, but in the album version.
Interesting.
Yes. So Fire and Rain, your favourite song ever?
A favourite song ever on this review. I think it's quite special, and it's quite interesting because I've listened to about 15 different versions of it, of him doing it, and with a Telecaster and all sorts of different things. And, I think this is quite a beautiful song, and very heavy. So I think there's beauty in melancholy. I've always thought that there's comfort in melancholy, as Joni Mitchell would say.
Yes. I do think that in this album you are getting the pure espresso version of him.
Yeah.
Because I think that, you know, when you add in, he is a singer-songwriter, and in fact in the first album that he produced, it was shockingly bad. It was shockingly bad because the producer of the album had said, "Oh, we need to put a bit of snare drum in there. We need to put a bit of bass in there, and you need to strum a few chords, and we'll put a bit of banjo and slide guitar in there." And he failed to recognise that the value of James Taylor is just James and his guitar, not it's a great song, which it is a great song, but it needs that sort of purity. Anyway, Fire and Rain.
I like to swing right out of that tuning. Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans we made put an end to you. I walked out on the morning and I wrote down the song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would.
I could just listen to the album, and that's this album is basically on repeat for me.
Yeah. That is what do you say? That's a pretty perfect piece of music. He knows when to put it. Okay, he's fabulous at the guitar, but he's also fabulous at not playing the guitar at the right moment.
Yeah, I mean he's got an exceptional voice as well, hasn't he? Really,
well, I don't know. That's
really
one of my grumbles. I think he's a little bit through the nose for me sometimes.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah, okay. A little bit, but it's a minor thing. It's a tiny minor point. He's a little bit kind of like through the nose. But I think it's like Bono's not a great singer, but he makes a sound which is really good in the context of which it's delivered with everything else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly. I don't think James is a great singer, particularly, but I think he makes a wonderful vocal sound in the context of everything that he presents. It goes perfectly. If he came on and he sounded like Tom Jones or Barry White, it'd be kind of weird.
Barry White, the wars of
I've seen fire. So it's perfect. If his voice was any different, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
That's
Barry White. Where did Barry White come from?
I don't know, but that will stay with me till my dying day. That's priceless, mate. Absolutely priceless. So that brings us on to Rainy Day Man, which I don't think is one of his better songs.
Have you got a taxi waiting or something?
No. Why? Well, because I'm just flashing through these things. Sorry.
This is your big deal, and there's only about 6 tracks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And relax.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
It'll be 20 minutes.
It's interesting that you said about this, being the verse about suicide, the verse about drug addiction, the verse about the band that he started.
Yeah.
That sweet dreams of flying machines in pieces on the ground.
Yeah.
It's
sweet dreams of flying machines on pieces in the amazing. You and I have a downer, and we go through, and maybe back in the day when you liked a little scotch and water, you'd sit in the study and sit and go, it was a crap day. These people have absolute trauma and go, right, where's my pen? I'm just going to write a beautiful song, and I'm going to capture that lyric. It's phenomenal to me that dreams of flying machines. What's the lyric?
Dreams of flying machines in pieces on the ground.
Because the band The Flying Machine falling apart.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it is lovely stuff. And actually, it is funny, isn't it? Because like with so obviously I know Joni Mitchell, I knew Blue, I had never listened to Hejira. And you said, you've got to listen to this. And I switched it on, and it's like Amelia is possibly my favourite song now.
Well, Hejira just goes into your bone marrow, your DNA, doesn't it? Just instantly you go,
The lyric there, about how I was driving across the whatever desert when I spotted 6 jet planes leaving 6 white vapor trails across the bleak terrain, and it's like
It was the strings of my guitar.
Yeah, it elevates the poetry of such things to a level where it's not just a case of rhyming words.
That's right.
Which is exactly what I hate so much about Oasis. It's just a bunch of words that happen to rhyme with each other.
Mine and sunshine.
And
Like
most of all, you're my Wonderwall. I'm sorry, you're what? As Fran Healy said.
But we need to be
And what's
careful
a
of this
Wonderwall
conversation
anyway?
because the masters of that are the Beatles. Unfortunately, they are.
No, yellow matter custard dripping from a dead dog's eye. There's nothing stupid about that.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
not go near I Am the Walrus or anything like that.
Sitting on a cornflake.
Yeah. But even there, so that's for a different review. But anyway.
Yeah.
So
a great album, a great song rather. So Rainy Day Man, not one I particularly like, if I'm perfectly honest.
No, it's okay. It's okay, but I was listening to it thinking this isn't one of his best songs on this album. Still pretty good though. Yeah,
I mean, I'd be happy to write one of these.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing. I was chatting to a mate of mine that I've not spoken to for ages on the phone, who's a guitar spod like myself, and he said about I started to arrange some stuff that I'm really looking forward to showing you. You should try arranging some stuff. And I just went, yeah, I should. They just have no aptitude for that at all. So, one of James Taylor's shit songs is so many orders of magnitude better than anything I could even aspire to write. It just beggars belief. But it's quite interesting that we can listen to these things and go, it's all right.
There you go. There's the difference between utter genius and someone who's quite good at something is their worst is something that you could never achieve.
Never even dream of achieving.
Never even dream of coming close to achieving. Wow.
Yes,
there you go.
I'm gonna have 5 large scotches, and even in that, completely spaced out. Yeah,
I won't be able to come up with it.
What good is your happy life? All you wanted from the start was to cry. It looks like another fall. Your good friends, they don't seem to help at all now. When you're feeling kind of cold and small, just call on your rainy day man. It does you no good to pretend, child. You made
it's great. It's very James Taylor, but it's not. It doesn't bear too much dwelling on compared to some of the other songs on the album, I think.
Perhaps not. But he's it's like this is going to sound odd. It's more hippie-ish. Like I can see Joni Mitchell with flowers in her hair, because he said I wrote this partially in Spain and partially here, and bits and pieces. There's a big part of her life is documented in '69 when she went to Spain. He must have been with her. Yeah, very possibly. And they sat round a fire one night with bottles of gin and probably other substances with flowers in their hair, and this sounds a little bit more hippie-ish to me. This sounds like when Sergeant Howie in The Wicker Man drives into the little village and goes, "Oh, this is nice. I'm going to enjoy it here."
Yeah, like the
Edward Woodward.
Yeah. I watched that not long ago, actually, and I had forgotten just how
terrible it is.
Harrowing that film is.
It's absolutely brutally
it's like
harrowing.
like a Scottish island version of Deliverance, isn't it?
Oh, totally,
it's like
totally.
Where the worst possible nightmares you have come true.
And the dubbing on Brit Eklund is world class, isn't it? Oh, hello! Will you no have another potato scone?
No.
She's like that. Still talking. Well, it's finished.
Yeah, a bit like a low budget Chinese martial arts movie, which is dubbed into American. So,
No. Yeah, so when Sergeant Howie arrives in the little village and thinks, this is gorgeous, I'm going to have a great time here, a song like this would be playing. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You're not going to have a great time here. Honestly, you're not.
You're not.
So actually, before we play the next song, which is Steamroller Blues, I'll play the very end of Rainy Day Man, so we get the intro to this, because this is delightful, I think.
Volume, they just crank it. Electric guitar weren't very good. They were making a lot of noise. Anyhow,
Colleen.
at that time there were a lot of so-called blues groups in New York City, you know, and they were making a lot of noise. They weren't very good. They were mostly white kids in from the suburbs with electric guitars and amplifiers that their parents had bought them for Christmas and their birthdays and stuff. And their idea of soul was volume. They just crank it up, you know. They were singing all these heavy songs like "I'm a Man" or "I'm a Jackhammer" or "I'm a Steamship" or whatever. "I'm the Queen Mary" or "A Ton of Bricks." We weren't to be left out of all this, so I wrote this next song, which is the heaviest blues tune I know, ladies and gentlemen, called "I'm a Steamroller." Well, I'm a steamroller, baby. I'm bound to roll all over you. Yes, I'm a steamroller now, baby. Whoa. I'm bound to roll all over you. I'm gonna inject your soul with some sweet rock and roll now, and shoot you full of rhythm and blues now.
So I can tell you this is really hard. It took me ages to be able to play that. But this next lyric is arguably the best lyric ever written in musical history, I think.
Okay.
In terms of light-hearted.
I'm a cement mixer, a churning urn of burning funk. Yeah, I'm a cement mixer for you, baby. A churning urn of burning funk.
It's having a go at himself, just giggling. I mean, that's he's doing accents, he's doing and silly lyrics, but it's funny.
And I love the bit when he starts talking over the.
Pick it, James. Get on it, man. My. Look at those magic fingers, just boogie up and down them silver frets.
I just love it. So in the video of this, he's just so intimate with the audience, as you can tell. You know, he's being a raconteur, and although he's not obviously a particularly good orator, he's a great performer, but he's not a particularly good orator. Words are not his thing unless he's singing them. But it's just so wonderfully endearing.
Yeah, and also while he's having a bit of a giggle with the audience and taking the pee out of himself a little bit because of this is the heaviest blues song, and it's a steamroller.
Yeah.
He's also, even though he's sort of like being deliberately clumsy with his guitar, when he does open up, I mean, it's Eric Clapton blues level, Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff in there that you know that could be unleashed if he wanted.
Well, in fact, the next song I love because it's just a little bit of filler. And again, on the video, he does this thing where he talks about when he was 3 years old, he was running around the house singing to himself or humming, and it turns out he was humming a snuff commercial, so a tube rose, a mild snuff, which he had heard on the radio, and then he sings the tube rose snuff commercial, and then he does like a 70s version of it, which is just so funny because it's just a little bit of kind of padding.
Fella, yeah.
And this next one is a bit of padding, and again, it's just a way of engaging the audience.
Wow. Little thing I wrote myself.
And so he's just a little bit of guitar playing, but then he kind of cranks it up a level. Now that I can't play.
No.
Just saying. But again, a little bit of filler, which brings us on to Carolina on My Mind, which is,
well, you say a little bit of filler, but I'm gonna pick you up on something here. That
okay.
He's allowed to do green sleeves. Jeff Buckley wasn't allowed to do Corpus Christi Carol because that was perceived as being pretentious and a little bit kind of like, come on,
but
14th century poetry.
But no, but there's a big difference, isn't there? Because Jeff Buckley has recorded Corpus Christi Carol as an expression of his musical self. James Taylor begins this by saying, it's written by King Henry VIII. He begins it by saying, a little piece I knocked up myself, and he takes it and turns it into a jazz piece.
Did you chat with Jeff to see if he was doing it ironically or if it was an expression of his musical self?
I did leave him that message, but he never. Yes, all right, you win.
What does LinkedIn user mean, and who is LinkedIn user? Elvis, did I ever offend thee? Am I missing that? Is that?
Yeah, no, I can
James
just
Taylor
see it
thing. LinkedIn user, please tell us what you mean. I wondered if I actually saw that and wondered if that was. Does he say that on a recording or something? Is that?
I don't know. If he did, I'm not familiar with it.
Tell us, please. We'd love to know.
And tell us who you are as well.
Yeah.
Thing is, you're just LinkedIn user to us. No, that sounded a bit horrible, didn't it? You're just a LinkedIn user to us. No, I don't mean that.
That's all we can see.
That's all we can see.
This is a song I wrote in Spain, and partially there and partially here.
Joni Mitchell.
I was homesick at the time. I didn't have a home, but that doesn't keep you from being homesick sometimes. But I wrote this tune.
I do like the way he says tune.
I devised a little whistling introduction for it. I hope you like it.
You'd be happy to whistle this well, wouldn't you?
I thought that was obviously a joke because I thought you can't just say I've devised a little whistling intro for this and then whistle like this.
Yeah.
I thought that's got to be a joke.
In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Well, can't you just feel the moonshine? And ain't it just like a friend of mine to hit me from behind? Yes, I'm gone to Carolina in my mind.
I just love the way that he harmonizes his singing. The way that he doesn't necessarily use the obvious chords to harmonize the melody. It's just, yeah, it does rather, doesn't it? I think that's very kind of redolent of the time, though, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It does sound a bit like that. Paul McCartney said, I just heard his voice. Oh, was that?
Hello, Helen.
Yeah, absolutely. I take courage in hand soon. Helen, good to have you. That's brilliant. I can send you a little link to help me fix that because I'm helping people. Everybody be fined. I send them a little link and it makes sure that they're visible on Restream. McCartney said, I just heard his voice and his guitar and I thought it was great.
That was Paul McCartney speaking.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Earlier in 1970, many listeners surely felt the same after dropping the needle onto Taylor's breakthrough second album, Sweet Baby James. by the time James Taylor Sings James Taylor went to air, he'd accrued enough of an international reputation to guarantee appreciation from even non-Beatles fans. So there's an interesting fact that he leveraged his Beatles connection with Beatles fans to help them get elected, and then he left them behind. But the Beatles connections don't stop there. Song Facts reported that Taylor's Something in the Way She's Moved, the first single from his pre-Sweet Baby James Apple debut, may have inspired George Harrison to write Something.
Yes.
Just dropping bombs all over the place.
You are, aren't you? You are Mr.
What's more, Taylor had originally titled his song I Feel Fine before realising that the Beatles had recorded a song by the same name.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, so a beautiful song.
The sun, you'd best walk away and watch it shining. Watch
that bass line again.
A silver tear appearing now. I'm crying, he died. Said I'm gone to Carolina in my mind. Ain't no doubt in no one's mind that love's the finest thing around. Whisper something soft.
That's one thing that I don't like about how the Americans speak English, is that all the double negatives. There ain't no doubt in no one's mind. Oh, so there is doubt in someone's mind, is there?
Yeah, I know. And he also says, I seen a lot.
Yeah.
I seen things. And you just want to throttle him, because I know that he's clever enough to know that it's not I seen things.
Yeah.
Even if you just put a little V at the end of that I, would be okay with that.
Yeah.
We'd be okay with
things.
I've seen things. It's pretty much a measure of the man that his solo bass, rhythm, and lead guitar, which he plays, is better than any bass player, rhythm player, and lead player that you've ever heard doing their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's so there's a lovely tribute concert to James Taylor, and I forget where it was, but it was like his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame type thing. A big concert hall, and one of the performers is Sting. Oh, I know you're very, very partial to a bit of Sting. And Sting comes out on stage and sings, actually, You Can Close Your Eyes. And instead of playing it on the guitar, he plays it on the lute. So he's got one of these enormously long-necked lutes.
Of course he does.
And he does a little bit of a talk beforehand, and he says, so, you know, I remember I was a young singer-songwriter in Newcastle, and James Taylor was playing at the City Hall, and I thought I'd better go along because I've heard all this noise about him. So I'll go along, and this incredibly handsome, incredibly tall, incredibly suave man walks out onto the stage, sits down, and within a few notes, it's clear he's got an incredible voice, and he's a virtuoso at the guitar. And Sting said, so that was the end of that career. So I decided I would go and become the bass player in a punk band. Yeah. Which actually turned out all right for him in the end.
But today I'm going to play my lute and I'm going to sing this song in Sanskrit just because I can.
Yeah. Well, no, he does say though. So, you know, if I make any mistakes, please, you know, it's not that I haven't practiced, because I have. It's because I'm nervous playing in front of you, James. Which I thought was.
Oh my God! Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that then. That's good.
Yeah, and actually, he does come across as quite an endearing character. Although, as I said, a friend of someone I knew was the receptionist at Warner Chappell Music, and she said he used to phone up and just be on the phone to her for hours, and he is the dullest human being she's ever known.
Well, he does a lot of things for hours, as we've spoken about before.
Yeah.
See a quickie, darling? Well, it's 8 o'clock now. We need to go out at 2 in the afternoon, so yeah, I think we could just about manage.
Oh, I don't need to really think about that too much. Anyway, so long ago and far away, another song a bit like Rainy Day Man. Not one of his best songs. Don't get me wrong. I'd be happy to have written this, but it's not up to his normal standard.
I'd like to play a new song. It hasn't got a title yet. It's sort of a cyclical thing, you know, musically.
Hasn't started yet, just saying.
Nope.
It's about not always getting what you want. Long ago, a young man sits and plays his waiting game. But things are not the same, it seems, as in such tender dreams. Slowly passing sailing ships and Sunday afternoon, like people on the moon I see, are things not meant to be. Where do the golden rainbows end? Why is this song so sad? Dreaming the dreams I've dreamed, my friends.
It's a little bit obviously poignant. I mean,
Yeah.
This would be one of the songs that I would press skip on.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think he. Yeah, I think it was important to him to write it. He wrote it for himself. Yeah, but it's pretty good. I like it. It's all right.
The next song, however, I think is tremendous. I love this. It is very creates an, certainly for me, it creates an image of trains. So this is riding on a railroad. Riding on a railroad.
Riding.
Here's a tune called Riding on a Railroad. We are riding now on a railroad, singing someone else's song.
Press pause for a second. I have issue with this song.
Oh, right, okay.
Heavily influenced, I would say.
By
Just from even that opening. I mean, listen to it again. There's only one artist that he's taken influence from. Imagine it being sung by a woman.
Here's a tune called Riding on a Railroad. We are riding now on a railroad, singing someone else's song.
And for the first time we hear him just strumming. Who else strums? Who else strums a guitar?
you're going to say Joni Mitchell, aren't you?
I don't. There's no copying here. Clearly, he could match her song for song, but I think there's an influence here in the way that she thinks about music. That I think it would be difficult not to spend time with her in Spain and come back and not be slightly influenced by the way she thinks about music, and likewise from him to her.
Yeah, I think. I mean, much as I love James Taylor, and I'm wooed by his guitar playing and his vocal abilities and his songwriting abilities. In terms of his stature as a musician and a singer-songwriter, he's not the same as Joni Mitchell. He may have influenced her a little bit, but it's pretty much a one-way street in terms of influence, I would imagine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to offend you. She would leave him for dust. But they're very different artists too.
Yeah, but you think this is heavily Joni, do you?
No, I think it's slightly. It's like it's been seasoned with a bit of Mitchell. Just seasoned the soup with a bit of Mitchellness. And even like the strumming at the start. Joni strums her guitar. She doesn't pick, she strums, right? She she does pick in the early days, but she's kind of strumming at the end. We've seen her doing it with that weird strumming action that she uses. I can imagine her singing this just with the chord structure, just with the vibe of the whole song. But then he goes into James Taylorness.
Well, in fact, this album, this in yellow, is him and Joni Mitchell in concert.
Yep.
There is a 1970 live in London Joni Mitchell and.
When I was trying to find info on that one, that's all I could find was info on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a tune called Riding on a Railroad.
No regrets, Coyote.
We are riding now on a railroad, someone else's song. We've been standing by the crossroads. Take your side and step along. We are sailing away on a river to the sea, and maybe you and me will meet again. Oh, we've been riding now on a railroad, singing someone else's song. Sing along.
So that's a really interesting point, Susan. Yeah, I kind of do, as does Eric. But I think this is driven purely by adoration of their talent. I think that it's a shame that they don't do MTV Unplugged anymore. And the reason it's a shame is that when you saw the artists unplugged in that acoustic setting, there was nowhere to hide. So, this is a great example of somebody that has talent. Loads of stuff on YouTube. Joni Mitchell demonstrating exactly the same, her and a guitar on stage. Eric Clapton, I can't stand the guy. And I don't actually think he's... thanks. I don't actually think he's that great a guitarist. He's a phenomenal musician, though. I mean, he is a bit of a knob, of course, as well.
Bye, Matt.
So, he's a phenomenal musician, but on his Unplugged album, you get to see just how good a musician he is.
Yeah.
The same with Nirvana Unplugged, same with 10,000 Maniacs Unplugged, Prince at the Webster Hall.
Maniacs, where did you pull that from? Natalie Merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Just while you're on Clapton, please, everyone, if you haven't heard it, there's a fantastic version of Crossroads by Cream. It's on Apple Music. You can get it on YouTube, and it is electric guitar. It's in my top 10 electric guitar moments. He does 3 solos. Jack Bruce and Eric Clapton and Baker allegedly had a massive argument, but particularly Jack Bruce and Eric Clapton. And when they went on, now Clapton plays, like, by the end of it, you're drenched in sweat and just sitting going, there's no one that could play a Strat like that in the world, right? And you're sitting there thinking, my God, what has he just done? And he's singing as well. And right at the end, Jack Bruce goes, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Clapton on vocals. On vocals. Now he's just gone out and said, right, hold my beer. I'm gonna dominate this song, Crossroads by Cream, and listen to what Clapton does with his guitar. 4 times he does it, each one different, each one annoying Jack Bruce to the point where he goes, everyone, Eric Clapton vocals. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I shall look forward to that. It's like an Oasis moment, isn't it? With 2 people in the band not getting on.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, where are we on this wonderful little odyssey?
So we just up to the last track now.
Crikey.
You Can Close Your Eyes. And this is, again, a high point for me. I think this is
it's an excellent song.
Beautiful song. And on YouTube, there's a wonderful thing that was actually broadcast on the old Grey Whistle Test of him performing this. So that he had a house with her in Martha's Vineyard in Little Island in New England. Him performing this with Carly Simon. One of the best clips on
was married to her at one point, eh?
He was for many years, yeah. And they've got 2 children. One of them, Ben Taylor, is a singer-songwriter. And he does also say in his set, he talks about the fact that I'm James Taylor and Carly Simon's kid. And, I'm a bit of a mix of these 2 things. So in reference to that, I've written the following song called Fire and Vain.
Very good.
And it is very, very good. And it's clearly, and he samples in You're So Vain where it goes, dum, 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 dum,
yeah,
as the intro. Yeah. So he starts with that, and then he does like a Fire and Rain.
Love that.
Well worth a watch and a good laugh. And he seems like a nice lad, actually. Although
yeah, totally.
I'm sure that it's tough act to follow, having them as parents.
Yeah, big time.
So You Can Close Your Eyes.
sun is surely sinking down, but the moon is slowly rising. So this whole world must still be spinning around, and I still love you. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, and I can't sing the blues anymore, but I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone. It won't be long before another day.
How are you with this one then?
Oh, it's in my like there are 3 standout tracks. One of them is this one, Carolina and Fire and Rain. And so when I went through Greensleeves and the long ago and far away, I was kind of going down a little bit. Riding on a railroad, I was like, yeah, it's okay. And I thought, I need something to rescue this for me.
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, these songs they're still fantastic, but they're not as great as the first couple. And this rescued it because I think it's fabulous. It's a lovely, lovely song. If you can't listen to this and find some beauty in this, there's you need to go and have a word with yourself.
Need some therapy.
Yeah.
We gonna have a good time, and no one's gonna take that time away. You can stay as long as you like, so close your eyes. You can close your eyes.
It's probably worth remembering as well that just to put an extra layer of complexity on this, he was probably off his face on heroin at the time that he was recording this.
Yes, and factor in he's 22.
Do you know it's really funny? So I was thinking about as a future one of these for us to do, because it came on the radio the other day when I was cooking something in the kitchen, and I thought, oh, that would be interesting. And I thought the first album from Lorde, who was 15 when she wrote and recorded it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because right now, I think James is our youngest, as his age on this recording is the youngest artist we've had on.
Yes, I think
Royal Blood were in their late 20s. George was 23. Prince was Prince. I don't think we've had anyone younger.
No.
I mean, in two shows' time, I'm going to beat that.
Oh.
Or two, my second, not this week, but you're going to do yours next week. At the end of next week, and after that, my choice. I'm going to.
No. It's your choice for next week, isn't it?
Yeah, but then you're going to choose next week.
Oh, right. I see what you mean. Yeah.
And after that, I have a band. But anyways, that's down the road.
So there we are, the end of a James Taylor album. I'm glad you got to experience it.
I did, and now I know what the fuss is about because I've heard people talking about James Taylor, and it's like, yeah, I need to listen to what this guy's all about, and of course, life gets in the way and stuff like that. So there could have been a chance that I might have shuffled off this mortal coil, having never heard that bass line and the way he moves those fingers. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Some real high points, not really a low point, and I learned that there's a guy who's a pretty special musician and songwriter.
Good. Well, I'm. Oh, yeah, she did indeed. Although there's not a huge amount of difference between them in age, I don't think, is there? Well, thank you very much indeed, Jim. Yeah, Tim told me that he was playing there, so I'm definitely going to go and see him in October. So that rounds off this week. So what joy have we got for next week?
We are going to Detroit, Michigan, we are going to 2005. And we are going to, I don't know if any of our lovely listeners and viewers out there know the story with this band, but I'm going to ask that we review Consolers of the Lonely by the Raconteurs. And it was quite funny because you said the word raconteur today.
I did, didn't I? Yes.
So I'm going to ask that we do Consolers of the Lonely by the Raconteurs. It's actually down there as 2008. No, sorry, they were formed in 2005. This is 2008. Quite an interesting band. Interesting because the band is formed by... They're a kind of like indie supergroup. Brendan Benson on vocals and guitar. Jack Lawrence on bass. Patrick Keeler on drums. And... Dare I say it? Jack White on vocals and guitar. So I've got a man crush on Jack White. My probably, for a big portion of my life, my number one favourite artist of all time. The guy that formed the White Stripes. And yeah, Jack White's other band. So this is in 2005. He went round to visit his mate. He's one of the most revered artists of the 21st century. The mighty Jack White from the White Stripes goes round to his mate Brendan's house, and Brendan says, I'm struggling with a song. And the song was, I think at the time, it was Steady As She Goes. So he said, he was a solo artist, and so they started playing it, Steady As She Goes, Steady As She Goes. And he was like, this is fun, why don't we get Jack round? And why don't we get, see if we can get little, what's his name round, the bass player? And so Jack Lawrence and Patrick Keeler get called round, and they have a little jamming session, and they're like, this is magic. Why don't we form a little band? They called themselves the Raconteurs. See you later. Ta-ta, Susan. What a week she's had. She's been super busy. They formed the Raconteurs. They made an album. Broken Boy Soldier was the first album. This is the second album when they're used to working with each other. So he took a break from the White Stripes to tour with the Raconteurs. Sarah and I went to see this album being performed live in Edinburgh, and we've never experienced anything like it in terms of mania in the crowd. Quite dangerous mania. But the sound, very interesting sound. You're going to find something in here that you like, I'm sure. I don't think it's going to entirely tick every box for you.
Did you say something? Sorry, I missed that when you said about the band. So I've got no experience of Jack White, no experience of the White Stripes, and no experience of this. So hoping,
wow,
I'm hoping that this will be another one of the Royal Blood stroke Queens of the Stone Age experience for me, where you've introduced me to something new, and I just go, oh my god, that's just unbelievable.
I would say they kind of smack you between the eyes on this album in the first couple of tracks. Stick with it because there's power, there's beauty, there's light and shade, there's mountain music, there's folk music, there's all sorts of stuff. And please, just do me a little thing. I'm just going to say one thing. Mm-hmm. Hold on until the end, the last track, Carolina Drama, and let's discuss that next week.
Okay, I shall.
Carolina, quite relevant.
Indeed, and that will be on my mind rather than in my mind for the remainder of the week.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon, Andrew? I was just going to say, how's he going to? You've been watching the show for a while, and you know what he likes and what he doesn't. Oh, this will be interesting.
Oh, this isn't Andrew. This isn't going to be another Radiohead episode.
Oh no! I know that for sure. That's why I picked it. There's stuff in here that I think you're. Well, we'll see. You might hate it. You might like it. You might be.
No. I can honestly say that for somebody that is quite conservative in my choice, although I've got a very eclectic range of stuff I like, actually my musical education and discovery of new things probably stopped around the turn of the millennium. So for 20 years I've been trading on everything that happened in the 1990s and before. So I'm so pleased that Queens of the Stone Age and Royal Blood have an entirely new experience for me.
I would say, I'm just going to ask you, there are songs that might start in a way where you go, I'm not going to sure, stick with it, because the songs transform a little bit. Yeah. You think it's going to be more good than bad? That's fine. We'll see.
Cool. Well, I shall look forward to it.
I'm off to make some homemade pizza.
Yeah, you were saying. So I shall look forward to your post about that.
Grazie. That's a Chianti.
Thank you to everybody in the audience, and thank you to Eric. And I'm glad that was a worthwhile thing for you to do.
Very much so. Loved it.
So thank you all very much indeed. Have a great week.
Ta-ta.